Hi everyone, back again. Sorry about that. If there's anybody out there wants to join, I'm here on the live now.
It's not showing anything. Oh yeah, it is.
What?
It's okay, just comment.
Okay. It says here one comment, but I can't see any comments. Right, okay, well, I'll just start talking a bit about trance mediumship. There are varying degrees of trance mediumship, going from light right through to deep trance. Deep trance is when you go into an altered state of consciousness and you are generally unaware of what is going on around you. You may find that various people come through, or spirits come through if you like, speaking in different voices, sometimes in different languages. You may have male, female. You may have male, female, children. You may even connect with higher beings. Personally, when I do deep trance, I prefer to have what I call proper people come through. People whose history I can check, and I keep getting an error come up here. This is action needed, key frame rate too low. Yeah, so basically that's what trance mediumship is about. Very often you will get, as I said, proper people come through who will give you plenty of, hello Deborah, thank you for joining me, who will give you information about their lives and things that have gone on around them, where they live perhaps, what era they're from. Hi Tracy. And you know, a lot of it is traceable. I always record my trance demos because obviously because I don't know what's going on, I can check back on it afterwards and perhaps find out some more information about the people that have come through. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a dry throat this week. Trance mediumship basically can also be linked to physical mediumship, although not necessarily so. Very often trance mediumship does can come with some of the some of the same categories as physical mediumship. For instance, if you get transfiguration with your trance, very often you will get overshadowing or transfiguration, and to be quite honest, I mean, to me I think they're one and the same, but certain spiritualist disciplines believe that they are two different things. Transfiguration is when your face or bodily features change to look like somebody else. You don't always have to work with a red light, but a red light does help. But from my experience, I mean, other people might think differently about this. I don't put my red light on the floor because I always think that It's very much the same as when you were a child and you'd stand in front of a coal fire and look in the mirror over the hearth, and your face would change, and that was because you were getting shadows from the light from the fire. So I prefer to have my red light above me, and I do find that this works quite well. When you transfigure, very often if you have somebody in an audience, they may recognise the person that comes through, and they may recognise what the person is actually saying as well, and basically give some pretty good information and some pretty good proof. Transfiguration doesn't always come... Excuse me a minute. Connie, stop opening curtain, thank you very much. The light from the things coming through. Yeah, so I mean, transfiguration doesn't always come with trance, but very often it does, because that transfiguration is also linked with physical mediumship. Direct voice is when the voice comes from the medium, and it might just be one single voice, or it could be several voices, as we have had in the past. I mean, on some of the recordings we've had up to about 7 or 8 voices coming through at once and speaking at the same time. Indirect voice is when the voice comes from somewhere else in the room, not from the medium. That could happen, it could come through a spirit trumpet, or any other object that is able to emit sound. Right, okay, I see there's a couple of people here, so if you want to ask any questions, please feel free to do so, and it helps us go along the way a bit. Tracy, any questions? No? Okay. So basically, very difficult to carry on talking for ages and ages about trance unless I've got any interaction with people, but still I shall carry on at the moment. Maybe does it leave you drained, says Tracy. No, not really, but it can be very taxing on the body. I've found over the years that after I've had a couple of minutes when I come out of trance to recover, then I can answer questions or talk to people in a normal manner. A lot of people do say it leaves you drained, but I've never felt that it does with me. Some of my experiences of trance mediumship, we have had some very good evidence from trance. We've been able to check information that has been given to us. We've been able to find out who the people were, and even found some of the information that they have given which has not been readily available. For instance, we once had a soldier came through who told us about a barracks and even pointed us in the direction of it, and when we asked various other people, they said that they had never ever known a barracks to be there. But we went to the archives and we found an old map, and lo and behold, the barracks was on the old map in the area where the soldier had told us it was. So we do get some really good checkable evidence. Any other questions? I think we've got a bit of a delay here, so yeah, it can be actually. I think it's it's more the proof that we get from it that gets me excited than the actual act of doing it, to be quite honest. It's it's being able to prove that what you're getting is correct. We have had other information come through as well in the past where we've had someone has said, well, to be quite honest, that didn't happen, and then when we've gone and checked, we found out it did happen. So it's it is quite good. And as I said, it's a very strange experience, but it's also it can be very mind-blowing as well, because you just get so many things that and things that you couldn't possibly know. So obviously they must be coming from somewhere outside of your brain, so to speak. So it is a very, very exciting thing. Any other questions about anything else to do with any forms of mediumship or? No?
When did you first become aware you were a medium?
When did I first become aware I was a medium? It started when I was a very young child. I used to give messages to people, and I thought it was just normal. Never really considered it to be any different to anybody else or what anybody else could do. And it wasn't until I started kind of or just got into junior school that I realised that not everybody could see and feel the same things as I did. And to be quite honest, it didn't make me any real friends, because I think it scared everybody. So basically I was quite a lonely child. When I first became aware that I could do trance mediumship, I was about 16. I've got your message now, Lucy. I think... right, okay. Right, let me just check back. Let me just have a quick look. I can see yours, Lucy. I can see yours, Anne. Anne is asking me if I believe dreams can hold messages. Very often I think that if you are not ready to receive messages directly from spirit, because very often when you are in the early stages of grief, it can be so distressing. It's not that your loved one can't come through, because they're quite capable of coming through right from basically right from the moment they pass, but very often it is how you feel yourself and whether you are able to cope with those messages coming through. So your loved ones won't do anything that they think will distress you. So very often they do come through in dreams and let you know that they're there in that way. So yes, I do believe that sometimes dreams can hold messages. I think it's more a message allowing you to know that they are there rather than anything else. But but sometimes, as you know, dreams can be very predictive. So very often we do get things come through in dreams that happen a while later. Any more questions? Okay, can't see any more questions coming up at the moment. Right. Sally Taylor, you're asking me how do you know when you're ready? Ready for what, mediumship in general, or ready for trance, or ready for something else? If you can be a little bit more specific and I can answer your question for you, love. Yes, mediumship messages, etc. When you are getting information that is coming through that other people can accept, then you're basically ready to give those messages. It's you know, I think it's up to the individual, because if you feel confident enough that you can give good messages to a good number of people, then you are basically ready. Tracy, what do you feel about travelling in your sleep? Yes, I do believe it's possible. If you're talking about astral travelling, yes, I do believe it is possible, because but it's not just in your sleep, Tracy. Sometimes it can happen in a waking state, especially if you are ill or a bit under the weather. You know, you're less susceptible to fight against it. So you know, it does often happen if you're in a wakened state and not resisting it. Okay. Do you ever use a cabinet for trance work or physical mediumship? Yes, I do have a portable cabinet, and I often use that if I'm doing a trance demo, and usually click my red light to it. So yeah. Yeah. Do I hear like whispering from people? From people that have passed when I do my medium nights? Well, I'm a multi-sense medium, so the thing is, sometimes they speak, sometimes they make an appearance, either like looking at somebody else, or sometimes not quite as solid as that. It just depends. A lot of it depends on the energy in the room at the time when you're doing your medium nights, because varying degrees of energy, if you've got a very, very energetic room, then you will get all sorts coming through. You know, you get names, you get descriptions, you get all sorts of things. But very often it's not so much like whispering. It's like when I'm doing when I've got clairaudience on my side, shall we say, it's not like whispering. It is like talking to another person that is in the room. So I hope that's answered your question, Anne. Anybody else? Right. Anybody else want to ask a question about anything? You're welcome, the three of you that have said thank you. Right, okay. Right. Back to what I was saying about. All right. Okay. I spoke to my mum, but it was more telepathic. Is that normal? Tracy, yes, that is quite normal because very often, especially if you're not clairaudient, if you're more clairsentient, which means you feel things rather than hear or see, then you will hear your mum's voice within your head rather than as if they're in the room talking to you. So yes, that is quite normal. You know, that's how a lot of people do hear spirit, and like you say, it is more like telepathy. Okay. Oops, somebody else asked a question here. Sorry about this, but it keeps flipping up. Do spirits take different forms, i.e. a man as a boy? Yes, often they do, but this is because, well, in my opinion, for instance, if you had somebody who would be a man now but perhaps passed as a boy, then often you will see them first as a boy, then as a man, and that is because it's giving you some kind of idea as to the length of time that this person has been in the spirit world. And this is why sometimes I personally see a boy as a man or a girl as a woman. It's you know, but as I said, that's just my opinion. I mean, sometimes some mediums believe it's because that person has grown up in spirit and they are now a man. Lucy's asking, could you tell us a bit more about your experiences with direct voice? Yes, I have had quite a lot of interesting things have come through me. I have had murder victims come through in the past. I've had some quite interesting people. We do have a few regular visitors. I often get a Cockney guy called Jack who comes through and likes to have a bit of a laugh and joke with us. I also have a piano teacher called Marguerite who is quite a character. She's always looking for the little children that she teaches, especially one boy, because he had a habit of disappearing when it was time for his piano lesson. And you know, sometimes you can build quite a nice little picture of the people that come through. We did a retreat in Matlock a few years ago, and we had a trance night there, and various people contributed to it, one of them being Joan, and another was a couple of friends from London. They contributed to it and had higher beings and other people and things talking through them. And Marguerite made an appearance, and she actually spoke for about 3/4 of an hour, I think, non-stop, and which was quite interesting because you know, to keep one spirit going that long, it is quite you know, quite an achievement, because obviously if you know, if other people or other spirits want to come through, very often they get cut off before they have a chance to tell you too much about themselves. But anything else you would like to know about it? As I said, there is a delay on this, so it's trying to find.
It's only delay first, not for you.
Oh, right, okay. Right, it's only a delay for you, is it? Okay, right. Yeah, so direct voice, it's, you know, it's a very, very strange thing. It's, when it first starts happening, it can be a little bit kind of, a little bit weird, even for, you know, listening back to it on a recording. You sometimes think, my gosh, you know, what on earth is, you know, where on earth does this come from? Because, you know, it's often the voices sound so different, and you just, you know, you just don't realise that, well, they're using your voice box, I know, but very often it's the voices that are coming through, you can't really believe it possible that your voice box could create that sound. So yeah, that's, I mean, that's one of the things that strikes me more about it than anything else. But I've got to admit, it's one of my favourite things, trance. Years ago, I wouldn't normally do trance on a psychic fair or a MBS show or anything like that, but often, because often you know, you've got no nobody there to kind of sort of work with you, you know, and it's not something that I would actually practice on a fair. It's more in a controlled environment. But one day I was on a psychic fair, and the next thing I knew, I had this terrible urge to run to the toilet. And when I came back, the lady I'd been giving a reading to said, oh, she said, my daughter came through, she said, and your face changed to look like her, and she was incontinent, that's why you had to rush to the toilet. So that was, you know, that was quite an experience. Do I work with guides or controls? Usually. Not so much usually, because I find that unless there is something that needs to be stopped from coming through, or someone won't speak directly, they need to speak through somebody else for whatever reason, then sometimes you will get a guide or a helper come through, but not normally. But in trance, I often get some chanting in between the different people or different spirits coming through. I do have an earthly control if I'm working in trance, and not just to make sure that everything's going okay with me, or to bring me back at a particular time. It's also, if you've got an audience, sometimes things happen within the audience and you need to be brought back so that you can sort it out. You know, if somebody panics or goes into trance themselves, then you know, you need to get that sorted out as soon as possible. So yeah, I mean, I work with an earthly control for trance. Looks like I've been spammed while we're doing this. In the past, I have done some or made some small card decks for my own use, and but I haven't really thought about doing a tarot deck. I mean, it did cross my mind a couple of times, but to be quite truthful with you, I think there's so many tarot decks out there now that, you know, there's so many to choose from, and it's not big on my list of to-dos. I mean, I do like to paint, but these days the fingers are a bit dodgy and can't do the fine work that I used to. So you know, I think very often you know, people who have got a lot more talent than me are much more suited to doing a tarot deck than I am. What should we expect on this live? Maybe if you asked questions about some things that you wanted to know about, and I could answer them, and then, you know, you can experience what to expect on it. It's you know, it's whatever happens. It's not particularly it's not for doing readings. It's to talk about various different topics to do with mediumship and the paranormal. Hope that answers your question, Jeanette. Marriage. As I said, Jeanette, I'm not here to give readings. It's to answer questions about things in general. When doing shows, you often visit people, old houses, giving full description of the property. Is that astral travel? No, Mick, that is more remote viewing than astral travel, because I don't project my body elsewhere. It is my mind that, or my astral body, I should say, elsewhere. It's more my mind that goes walkabout and goes rooting through people's drawers, etc. Have you ever done any work in a cemetery? Yes, we have. In the past, when we were working with other paranormal groups, we have visited cemeteries that are supposed to be haunted. But my take on that is that usually by the time a body gets to the cemetery, then, you know, the soul has already left it. The only time I would consider that a cemetery would be haunted is if perhaps someone either died in the cemetery itself, or there was something on that land that happened and caused the cemetery to be haunted, and therefore have spirits hanging about there. Which one such place is Ward's End Cemetery. There's quite a lot goes on there, so that is probably one of the most unusual and weird places that you could actually go to. Very interesting place, actually. There's a lot goes on there. Sally Taylor, have I had ever had a ghost go right through me? Yes, I have, a few times. And Mick and I also experienced something in Middlewood Asylum. We both had the same kind of experience where we felt something go through us. It's a very, very weird sensation. Has it ever happened to you, Sally? Wait and see if another message comes up from Sally in a minute. I think our Connie's got something to say.
My husband, yes.
Oh, right, okay. So, did he actually explain to you what the feeling was like? Because it's almost like if I said to you that when you catch your breath, you know, when you sort of kind of, you know, it's that kind of sensation. It's very, very strange. Yeah, dogs do like to photobomb, yeah. Hello, what do you want? Have you got something to say?
Just like a dog.
Yeah, our Connie's actually seen spirit as well. And she's seen things at the bottom of the stairs in our house, so she likes to express her feelings, don't you, love? Yeah. Right, okay. The ghost doesn't actually, when it walks through you, it doesn't actually take up residence, so so you don't have to worry about that. It's just that sometimes, you know, if you happen to be bang in the middle of the route where they are actually taking, then that is often why they go through you, because basically you're in their way. It's the same as if you were in the street and somebody pushes past you. You understand what I mean? It's very much the same sort of thing. Yeah, she is gorgeous, Tracy. She's a little angel.
Nice.
Have you ever taken your dog on an investigation? Not this dog. John, we took our Chelsea to Whitby once, and we had her with us when we were sitting in the in the graveyard at Whitby, and seeing if there was anything that was going to contact us. So you've got a resident ghost as well, have you, Sally? Yeah, I mean, we've got a few here. We've got what we call our head-banging dog, who seems to make an appearance every now and again and has been witnessed by quite a few people. We have I believe she's an elderly lady that often stands at the bottom of the stairs and frightens the life out of people. Looks like our Connie's trying to make an appearance now as well. We've got a rear end though. Yes, so be interesting to know who your ghost is. Any other questions? And back to taking the dog on the investigation, John, I think Connie had probably just sit and stare. I'm not quite sure how Casey would react, because Casey's frightened of her own shadow a lot of the time, so she'd probably freak out. Anybody else? Any questions?
Do you see ghost animals?
Do I see ghost animals? If I'm giving messages to people, very often we do get animals come through. Had a lovely one a couple of weeks since. I was doing some messages for a spiritual group, and this little a spaniel stuck its head round from the side of a chair, and it was so vivid that I actually thought it was there for a minute, and then obviously it disappeared, and the lady who was sat on the chair could actually take her. Have I ever sat in Scarborough Spa? The theatre? No, I've never been there, unfortunately. We have been to lots of places where we have had very, very strange experiences. Some of the places that are advertised as being very haunted, we've been there and not got anything, but it doesn't mean to say there's nothing there. It just means that you can't always expect them to perform to order. You know, sometimes things only show themselves on certain dates. Lucy, yes, we did go to Thackeray Museum, and we had we had some very interesting stuff there, didn't we? Actually, Di Harris would probably tell you a few stories there. It was quite amusing, actually. There was a woman asking questions in another part. Well, I think she must have been about 20 feet away from me. She was asking some questions of somebody else, and I was in trance answering them. And apparently, you know, I forget who was sat with me at the time. Hi, Lisa. Finally found us then. You know, it was very strange because, as I said, I wasn't aware I was doing it, but it was causing quite a bit of amusement for the other people that were involved in it. So yeah, it's there was some interesting stuff came through. It was very interesting building that, actually, Lucy. I think just about everybody picked something up there. Hi Lisa, have you got any questions you want to ask? Any other questions across the room there? Yeah, it was a good night, and it was quite by accident that got booked. We were supposed to have been going to some haunted pub or other, and the guy decided at the last minute that we couldn't go because we were doing it for charity, and it was you know, it was just kind of one of these things that just came up at the last minute, and I'm glad it did. What is the best outdoor investigation you've been on? Oh gosh, best outdoor one. Would you consider it to be outdoors though, Mickey? The coach house? Partly out, partly in, wasn't it? I mean, it was derelict. I'm not sure on that one, John, to be quite honest. And we've had some quite interesting ones, haven't we? I think Hoobastand was quite interesting, and also Rockley Furnace, and what's the Needle's Eye was quite interesting as well. Oh, I know which one was quite interesting, but not for the reasons that War and Percy, wasn't it? The old village.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, War and Percy. Yeah, but not quite for the spooky things. I got saddled with a couple of lads who wouldn't let me leave them, and that was a bit awkward, especially when I wanted to go to the loo. Um, we've had some very funny ones. We've had some very for various reasons. We've had peculiar things have happened, and had some good laughs over the years. But I think outdoor ones can be a little bit difficult. Actually, I suppose Ward's End Cemetery was one of the good outdoor ones.
Sandal Castle, we did.
And where? Sandal Castle. Oh yeah.
The Moonrise.
Trust you to remember that. Oh dear, yeah. Oh gosh. How do you switch into trance, please? Well, the way I do it is I breathe down and I push upwards through my crown chakra at the same time. But I think other people tend to do it in different ways, but that's the way I do it. It's because I go into quite a deep hypnotic trance, so apparently from people who have tried to or who have hypnotized me in the past, they say I go a lot deeper than most people do, so that's the way I experience it, is by breathing down, if that makes sense. Lisa wants to know, how do I know if a message is from spirit? Right, okay. I think at the end of the day, Lisa, it is down to trust, because trust and practice and experience, because at first, it is very awkward giving messages to people when you first start out, because you don't want to be so sounding stupid, you don't want to get it wrong, and because of this sometimes you do hold yourself back, because you're thinking, well, I can't say that, because people are thinking I'm odd. But you've got to trust, Lisa. Usually the first thing that comes into your head is the right thing. So I'd say to you is, it comes with time and with practice. If you're getting something, give it, because very often it can be accepted. If it's not, then it doesn't mean it's not a message from spirit. It just means that maybe that person doesn't recognize it at the time. Okay. Right, okay, I see. I've just got the other message here from you, Lisa. Right, don't get disillusioned. We all have good days and bad days. Okay? And sometimes it's not so much that you've got it wrong. Sometimes people just don't recognise the messages. I mean, I've been doing it for many, many years now, and sometimes you do get someone will say no. I always say that I have a two-nose rule. If somebody says no to me twice, then I say, okay, I don't appear to be with you, I'm moving on to somebody else. Because that saves a lot of the embarrassment, okay? But sometimes I've said things to people and they say, no, I can't accept that, I don't understand that. And then you move on to somebody else, you start talking to somebody else, and then just suddenly a bit later the person goes, oh, I've remembered who that was now. And yes, I can understand that it does make you feel like you're getting it wrong and like you know that what you're giving is rubbish. But don't give up on yourself, okay? Just trust, because the thing is, you know, we go out there sometimes and we look at the crowd in front of us and we think, flipping heck, I don't think I'm getting anything. But, you know, you just have to trust that when you start giving the messages, that the psychic juices or the mediumship juices are going to start flowing and the information's going to start coming through. If anybody says that they have 100% hit rate, then I would say they you know, no, they're not, you know, they're not telling the truth, because to be quite honest, we all say something that is not wrong, that is not right, or that sound, you know, that people can't take at the time. They may be able to take it later, but you know, everyone gets it at some stage, even, you know, even the best of mediums, okay? So don't let it disillusion you, just keep on plugging away, love, and you will get there in the end. John, yes, Stocksbridge was very interesting. We had a lot of weird stuff there, didn't we? It was a very, very strange place. We had, that's where the soldier came through, showing us the barracks. Stocksbridge was a weird one, because we had all sorts of phenomena there. We had the car steamed up on the outside. We had things that moved. We'd gone off and left a compass on the dash, and when we came back it was facing the other way and was on the seat. We've had strange smells. We've had the engine not start, and yet when we've moved down or left it for a while and then suddenly it start up again. We've had all sorts of weird things. We've had really strange feelings. We've also had you know, we've had a heck of a lot of things have gone on. Okay. And another spam. Lisa Campbell. I know that obviously you want to get work in, love, but to be quite honest, putting it on my thread is not helping me, because I'm trying to answer questions from people here, and I have now got 6 messages from you asking for me to send you a friend request for a reading. Okay, so please stop spamming. Thank you. Any more questions, please? Right, okay. But yeah, over the years we have had some really interesting things happen, and some really interesting. We've been to some interesting places. We've had a lot of stuff that's come through in trance that has been absolutely phenomenal. We've learnt a lot about the spirit world through trance and through mediumship, mental mediumship. And it has been an interesting journey, and it will continue to be an interesting journey. And if anybody has got any suggestions for what they want us to discuss in the next live on Monday the 11th, then please just drop me a message either on this page or PM me on my profile, and we will talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And I think that's it for tonight, and thank you all for joining me, and look forward to seeing you all soon.